My earliest memories of making art, well, I didn't know it was art, you know what I mean? No one called it art back then. It was just called drawing or painting or whatever. But I just happened to be the only guy in the class who could draw things, so I just had to draw the pictures on everyone's school books, and I had to draw the map for geography on the blackboard, and I had to draw Santa Claus at the end of the... I just drew whatever, whenever anyone needed something to be drawn or painted, coloured in, I was the go-to guy for that, so I never had to... It just took me a few years to work out how to monetise it, that's all. My mother went to art school. She was arty. She didn't know anything about art. She never understood what art was, but she was very handy, crafty. You know, she could draw, and she used to copy Goldie portraits onto wooden bowls and get them French polished. And I used to watch her doing that, painting. You know, wetting the brush and everything. Watching her like this. Yeah. Because it's a repeating motif, I went back into my drawers, looking at other designs I've worked on for other projects, fabrics and cushions, and I had that lovely one of the kingfisher, which is based on a design that my mother used to paint. So I had my mother's kingfisher and worked out a repeating sort of motif for that. I'm always curious about what you're not meant to do. You know, people say, well, you shouldn't go. There's always a line that you're not meant to cross. No matter how liberal things get, there's always this line that you're not meant to cross. And when people talk about the line, I'm always curious to see what the line is or where it is. So I go looking for this line that you're not meant to cross, and then I go to cross it, and of course it moves every time I go to cross it, and it's there, then it's there, and then it's there. And I think, well, this is interesting. And they say, oh, you can't paint landscapes. So I went and painted landscapes, and then you can't do that. Then you can't, you know, Europeans can't do Maori art, so I went and did that, just to see what had happened, basically. Because the idea that there's some art god in the sky that's going to strike you dead if you transgress is because there isn't, of course, but that somehow your career will just stop dead if you don't play within these art sort of rules that are constantly being, I mean, they're just made up. You know, there's no book that's been written. When Hamish Keith was interviewing me, and he said to me at one, because I must have been getting a little bit overexcited at the interview about getting this grant to go to America, and with the family, and Hamish Keith looked at me and he said, you are going to come back, aren't you? Because the Arts Council grant was seen as an investment, cultural investment. He said, you are going to come back? And I said, oh, yes. But inside I'm thinking, not when and I'm going to meet these guys that are just like me, and I'm going to join in. And of course, when I got there and I met those guys who were just like me, they weren't like me at all. They were Americans and I was a New Zealander. And I realised very quickly that even at the age that I was then, late 20s or something, 30s, that even if I moved to America right then, I would never live there long enough to understand it well enough to use it. That's it, you know, to paint about it, to talk about it, and because it runs much deeper than that. So I thought, it looks like I'm going to have to go back to New Zealand and just do what I am, you know. So I came back and did this thing I was going to do in America and did it here, which is draw attention to here, basically, you know what I mean? It's like the artist's job, the singer's job, the dancer's job, the writer's job, is to keep pointing out to people, this is where you live, this is where you live, this is where you live, here. And so I quite deliberately came back, and I had this exhibition of, because you know when you come back after a long trip, the first thing you're confronted with is the lawn that you have to mow and all that sort of stuff. This is so Kiwi, you know what I mean? And so I took a photograph of the lawnmower sitting in the middle of the overgrown lawn and did a painting of that. Of course, this was going to be a revolution. I was going to reveal New Zealand to New Zealanders, and they all looked at these paintings and thought they were the most stupid thing they'd ever seen, and it was my worst exhibition I've had in my life. Survival, I mean, talk about the ultimate superpower in this business, which is just driven by attrition. you know, the art racket, well, art, poetry, whatever, it just destroys people. You know what I mean? They get big and then it doesn't work, then they have a mental block, and then they feel they can't betray everything they've done, so they don't change. But in actual fact, if you can't betray yourself. I mean, Jesus, that's the most stupid idea. You know, so you just go, change. You know, I'm over here now. You know, I swerve suddenly and hit people at random. I saw that on a bumper sticker once. It's one of my it's the story of my life. I used to take my boys to Batman movies and that, you know, and we used to go down Queen Street, the three of us, or sometimes Stuart, my daughter, we used to call it going hunting and fishing, because other dads took their kids out hunting and fishing, but I took my kids down to Queen Street to see the latest Batman movie and stuff. And then we'd sit up on the three of us, all of us on the couch watching bad horror movies on the TV on a Friday night and all that sort of stuff. That was their education, you know. Yeah, of course we're lucky to live in New Zealand. I mean, I'd say, it goes without saying. I'm still surprised how many Aucklanders have never been down to the South Island. I mean, when you get down there and you go through Mackenzie country and down, you know, take that drive from Geraldine and you think, holy crap, look at this place, you know. You come back here and I'll tell you a grateful moment. When I was at high school doing art, because that was the thing, what I did, there was only one other guy doing art. We did this art together, and which meant I was always the freak at high school. You know, when I used to try growing a beard in the holidays, and all these young cowcockies would hold me down and try and cut it off, and you know, Hastings, just to picture it, in 1956 or something. And when I went to art school, and I was nervous as hell about going to art school. You can imagine leaving Hastings and going to Christchurch to art school. But when we got in on the first day, when we were all together, this is in like 1955 or something, we were all in the room, and I looked around, and everybody in that room was the freak from their high school. You know, they're Timaru, whatever. And we're all in the room together, and we were all the same. And it was like, hello, tribe. You know what I mean? There's a bit of gratitude, you know. There was Jude over there, and all the girls had black eye makeup and black stockings. I thought, oh my God. And the boy, funnily enough, I shaved my beard and everything off to go to art school because I didn't want to look like a try-hard beatnik on my first day. So I looked like a cowcocky. I had this sort of crew neck jersey and the corduroy pants and this clean shaven. And I was like, I better grow that beard back. The way I respond to these charities, the way it looks like I'm supporting a lot of charities, it's not like I'm supporting a lot of charities. I'm just lucky that I can do this stuff, and I can do it without, I'm not resenting, it's not an intrusion, it's not taking up too much time. The reason that I'm willing to support a charity like this for bowel cancer is, what draws me to it is the clarity of it. The condition is defined by the title, the charity, everything is quite, you give the money, it goes to the research works, it goes straight to the source, and it helps bowel cancer. That's the whole point. And so it's that step down, it's the step through that I can see that draws me to it. If any fudging, I'm not there. You know what I mean? So I'm 100% behind it because it's 100% transparent. That's the whole point. That's why I'm doing it.